was just gonna keep me going. Girl, I am in one of them moods, y'all. Woo! That Prince got me going. Okay. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to After the Snap. It's Friday, so I guess that means it is Film Review Friday. And this week's movie was different. It was really different. But before we get into all that, how's everybody doing? I see you, D. I see you, Bun. Thanks for being here. Oh, gosh. So, yeah, this movie today is going to, you look at it, thank you. Thank you. This movie today is going to take us back, well, someplace probably we ain't been in a while because we ain't never been there. None of us was around in the 60s. So we are going to take a little trip to the 60s with Ellie, and things are going to get real weird. You're mad because the Charlie Wilson concert was canceled. I'm so sorry. Why did they cancel the concert? Is it because people don't know how to act, or was it something else? Yeah, I didn't even know there was a Charlie. But Charlie Wilson was, where was he at? Where was Charlie at? He wasn't in I'm thinking Houston, but you're not in Houston. Oh gosh. Ooh, that tea. That's hot. I made that tea about, you didn't see the email about it being canceled. Oh, in San Marcos. So he was gonna be there. Okay. Well, today's movie is from Edgar Wright. And I don't know how many people are like familiar with Edgar Wright's work. Now, I know that there was a point where he was supposed to be attached to an MCU project and that fell through. So he was not able to do that Ant-Man project that he had been commissioned for. They wanted to have him direct, but use their own script. And Edgar Wright was like, "That's not how I work. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works." So we didn't get that. Now, if you've seen the movie Shaun of the Dead, then you know Edgar Wright. If you've seen the movie, I think it was Hot Fuzz. So he did a lot of quirky kind of subgenre pieces. So it's kind of like it would go into comedy and another genre. So comedy action, comedy horror, comedy, you get it. This is not a comedy movie. So last night in Soho uh was definitely not a comedy. In fact, it is considered a psychological horror. And psychological horrors are like we were talking about subgenres. It's a subgenre of horror that focuses on the mental, the emotional, the psychological states of humans. So in this case, the human that we are focusing on is Ellie. So we deconstructed those thoughts, those situations, and they just kind of unsettle the audience. It's different from a psychological thriller. So I know we all have seen psychological thrillers. I guess a psychological thriller would be like externalized actions becoming internalized feelings. And I know I'm going crazy here. But then a psychological horror is internalized feelings becoming externalized actions. So, okay, it's going to focus on a person and their deteriorating mental state, and her because Ellie's deteriorating mental state keeps us off balance as an audience because we don't know what is real and what is in her imagination, and that is where the horror takes place. I don't know if I'm describing that way well, but uh, that's basically what a psychological horror is. Now, this is his first foray, Edgar Wright's, into straight up horror. He again did a lot of subgenre work, but nothing that you can consider a straight up horror film until today. Let's see. Now, this movie was written, of course, by Edgar Wright, because I just told you he's not going to use anybody else's script, but he did have assistance with this script, and that was from Christy Wilson Cairns. I hope I'm saying her name right, but she did the writing for the movie 1917. It came out, I believe it came out last year or either the end of 2019. Not 100% sure because, last year was 2 or 3 years all by itself. Let's see. So this movie was supposed to come out in theaters on September 25th, 2020, but you know what happened. I don't have to tell you. It happened to his movie as well, that he could not bring that movie out at the time that it was scheduled because of COVID. Or they could have when nobody went to go see it. That was the problem. This is not the kind of movie that is going to make a whole lot of money, but it's going to make a whole lot of noise when it comes time for award season. Now, it had its world premiere at the 78th Venice International Film Festival on September 4th, 2021. So that was the first set of people who laid eyes on this movie, and it had been spoken highly of. So this is why, after seeing the trailer and after hearing the buzz about it being something that you might want to consider when we get the Oscars going around, this made me want to see it even more, because I'm like, okay, he's not making this movie for a financial windfall. He's making the movie because he sees something he wants to try and he wants to get acclaim from his peers. And I think that's an admirable trait. Uh-oh, like I'm dropping people. Am I dropping folks? But anyhow, well, let me know if you guys are still there, because I can keep going. Okay, this movie stars Thomasine McKenzie as Ellie, Michael Ajal, I hope I'm saying his name right, as John, Anya Taylor-Joy as Sandy, Matt Smith as Jack, and Terrence Stamp. And I won't tell his character because that is a spoiler. His character would be a spoiler. There are people that we know. Anya Taylor-Joy and Matt Smith are becoming, of course, Matt Smith is a household name, especially if you are a Doctor Who fan. So if you're a Doctor Who fan, you will remember Matt Smith as the 11th incarnation of the Doctor. So I absolutely loved his incarnation, not as much as I loved David Tennant, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. This movie marks the final appearance of Diana Rigg and Margaret Nolan. They are two very influential. In fact, I believe it was Diana Rigg is Dame Diana Rigg. She is a big name, or was a big name in the UK as an actress, and so was Margaret Nolan. Now, we think about this. The movie is directed by a British director. The staff is, or the cast is mostly British. So we've got ourselves a look into basically 60s London, Soho. Soho means the south of Houston, and it was like the hub. It was basically the place to be. So if New York has Times Square, London has Soho. let me see. The runtime of this movie was 1 hour, 56 minutes, and that might have been a little long. There could have been some pieces that were, you know, it ran a little long. 1 hour and 56 minutes. We probably could have cut 15 minutes out of this movie and still been perfectly okay. I don't know. Let me see. I am going to take a look at Facebook because I don't know. I feel like I might have lost somebody. I'm going to see if I'm showing up there. Cuz if you guys didn't know, cuz I made the like a little announcement um a week maybe earlier this week that I was going to be trying uh a new platform for streaming. And today is the first day that I am trying that. And I just want to make sure that I'm not losing anybody or leaving anybody out because I have never tried this live before. So, okay, I'm still here. I see me. There I am. Okay, so as long as I'm still there. Okay. Um, as I was saying about Last Night in Soho, the projected box office for Last Night in Soho is $5 million for this opening weekend, which, we have been talking 20, 30, 50, $70 million for these movies. This one, $5 million. And if it makes the $5 million, it will be okay. It'll be great. If it makes more, that's just even more fantastic for this movie and this cast. Uh, but $5 million is what they are looking for. Let's see. Again, it's projected to make that $5 million, but it is also projected to make an awful lot of noise for Edgar Wright and this cast when it comes down to award season. Oh, and I forgot to go over and do my little overlays for my review, but I'll remember for synopsis. Let's see what we have here. I know uh, getting used to putting these images up. I'm going to go into the synopsis at this point. An aspiring fashion designer is mysteriously able to enter the 1960s where she encounters a dazzling wannabe singer. However, the glamour is not all it appears to be, and the dreams of the past start to crack and splinter into something far darker. So, as I was saying, the aspiring fashion designer in question is Ellie, and that is Thomasine McKenzie's role. And then we have the dazzling wannabe singer, that's Sandy. And Sandy is played by Anya Taylor Joy. And when you initially meet these characters, it doesn't seem like they are going to intersect as much. It feels like a dream. Let's start from the beginning. Ellie is on her way to design school in London. Now, she's a small town girl. This is not typical. You know how you have fashion designers and they have a very big presence, big persona. Your Johnny Versace's and your Gucci's and those kinds of people. Big personalities and personas. Not Ellie. Ellie is meek. But again, she's from a small town and she's living with her grandmother. Her grandmother is going to see her off to school. We also learn that her mother is deceased. So Granny has been there for her since her mother has been deceased. We also learn that Ellie is obsessed with 60s music, 60s fashion, just the 60s hairstyles. She is obsessed. In fact, she feels like that was like the best time to live. to be alive would have been in the 60s. Now, this is present day Ellie. So she's in the 2019, 2020 area here, but she loves the entire, I guess, the everything 60s. Kind of like if I stayed back in the 90s, it was like, you know what? 90s fashion, 90s music, 90s everything was it. I'm just going to live here forever. That nostalgic feeling. And this movie is showing us in ways how living in the past is not always, we see all these things with rose colored lenses. We forget about all of the bad things that was happening in that time span. We remember only what makes us feel good. So she moves off to London to go to school. And while there, number one, of course, she has begun to meet some of the other students at this design school that she'll be going to. And they are pretty much big city kind of, there's a mean girl type girl there. So she doesn't fit in with that crowd. So she gets her own apartment. And this is where things pick up. She begins having dreams about Sandy. Now she's renting this apartment from an old lady, Mrs. Collins. She begins to have dreams about a lady named Sandy. And pretty soon, her life begins to intersect with Sandy's through these dreams. She is actually following Sandy in her quest to become a lounge singer. She actually wants to be bigger, but she'll start with as a lounge singer. And this is where Sandy meets the Matt Smith character, and his character's name is Jack. And Jack is an asshole. Jack is an asshole. And it makes me feel a little funny even seeing Matt Smith play that role, because typically I like Matt Smith. In this role, not so much. I didn't like him so much, but that is exactly what we were supposed to feel. They Sandy and Jack met one another, and he promised her a life of luxury and assistance in getting her seen by different talent agencies where he could put her on, basically. And we find out he don't do that. And okay, the movie is very trippy because it's hard to discern when we are real and when we are fake. When is this stuff really happening to Ellie? When is she really able to communicate with Sandy? How is this even happening to her? It's a very trippy movie. And in fact, there are even points in this movie that, like, if you were one of those people who have seizures from strobe effects or flashing lights, it would definitely affect you, because there was a scene in this that was nothing but a strobe effect, nothing but flashing lights. It was very disorienting. It was disorienting for me in the audience, so I know how disorienting it must have felt for those people who were in that situation on the movie. Make sure I don't have nobody over here. Okay. Um, so there were a few moments that were like, huh? Like what? But for the most part, it was just crazy and satisfying. I mean, there's equal parts crazy and satisfying with a few moments thrown in there. So this movie won't be for everybody. Everybody is not going to understand what the appeal of a movie like this is. And then there are some people who will feel like they want more movies like this, more movies that kind of get you in a cerebral way, make you think. And if you are able to think your way through this psychological horror, you will probably love it. If you're looking for a movie where everything happens in a linear fashion, where everything goes in a straight line and you get from one point to another quite easily, this is not going to be for you. If you don't have the patience to sit through and figure out exactly what's going on with Ellie and why, this movie won't be for you. And that's okay, because this movie, again, not for everybody. No movie is for everybody. We are not going to all agree on every movie that we see, but to me, this movie, again, the little spots where it was kind of womp, I can make it through. But there were some moments that I was on the edge of my seat. And I think it was more of those moments than the moments. And I actually I won't say scared. I wasn't afraid of the movie, but it was definitely some moments that did unsettle me. That wasn't like a horror film conventional. It was more or less, I can't believe this just happened. And that's how I felt about about oops, sorry. That's how I felt about last night in Soho. If you watch this movie, if you give this movie an opportunity, I am I will be quite interested in knowing what everybody thought of it, because again, like I say, it's not for everybody, but I want to know who else got it, who else felt this movie. And of course, we're going to move into how much or what my rating and review will be for this movie. And as far as I've given you my review, my rating for this movie out of my typical 5 will be 3.5 out of 5. Again, the 3.5 is coming from the slower kind of uh, the more dull moments, and there weren't very many, but it was enough to notice. Again, like I said, we could have cut 15 minutes out of this movie easily. Once we realized what was going on with Ellie, we didn't have to keep revisiting the fact that something was going on with Ellie. We got a good look at what might be hereditary mental illness, what might be being a medium from one dimension or one time period to another. Uh, we see how women in the 60s were treated as objects. Boy, this movie, I wish I could tell you more. I don't want to spoil it because I really do want people to see it. Um, I guess what we need to do now is just go on over here to Rotten Tomatoes and see what they thought. Let me see. I want to share my screen. So here we are, Rotten Tomatoes. I'm gonna make me smaller. On Rotten Tomatoes, the critics thought that Last Night in Soho would be 73%. The audience gave it a 93%. And of course, the audience ratings it's like a low number of ratings, but again, this is not the kind of movie that people are going to clamor out to see. It's kind of more artsy. Hi, Clarence. Yes, this is in theaters only right now. So right now, the only place you're going to see Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho is in the theater. But for me, I think it was worth it. I enjoyed uh I enjoyed taking this trip. It was really it got weird. Again, psychological horror, of course, is gonna get a little weird, but it got weird. And there were several twists that many people won't see coming. I didn't see one of the twists coming. I saw one big twist, and I projected that it was coming. So if I can get that one, I think most people could. But if that second twist, the big twist, I didn't see it coming. And I honestly recommend this movie. Again, you see that the critics and the audience uh both felt very strongly that this was a fresh movie on the tomato meter. But I I uh I saw a few little flaws. I haven't written my review yet, so that's why my box here is empty. But I I saw a few flaws, but the flaws were not enough to take me out of the movie. The movie was beautiful. Absolutely. It was shot by the same guy who shot, oh gosh, I cannot remember. His name is Chung Hoon Chung, and uh he has like a brand of cinematography that is largely Korean. The Korean market is used to his cinematography. He did an outstanding job, especially when there were points where uh, we have Sandy and Ellie on separate sides of a mirror. They're mirroring each other. This was all done with just his practical shooting. He didn't use an awful lot of special effects. In fact, this is not special effects heavy at all. Again, it's more cerebral. It's going to get in your head. I would love to see Edgar Wright do something else like this because it was different. It was quirky, but not Shaun of the Dead quirky. It was a really good movie. I'd strongly recommend it. And I know, again, like I said, this ain't the type of movie that people run out to see first day and it's going to make millions and millions of dollars its first weekend. It's projected to make $5 million. It'll probably make $5 million. But when it comes time for award season, I cannot wait because I know that there is no way that with the performances you get from Anya Taylor Joy and what's the other one? Thomasine McKenzie, even Matt Smith, that jerk. Gosh, I can't believe he was so bad in this movie. Not bad as in his acting was bad, bad as in his behavior. He was a naughty, naughty guy. Didn't like him at all. But yeah, I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it quite a bit. Let's see if I can run through the Rotten Tomatoes photos so you guys can see some of the pictures that that were shown or that were part of this movie. So that's in this photo we've got Anya Taylor Joy playing Sandy and Matt Smith playing Jack. And you just look at Matt Smith and he just looking dead into your soul. Look at how he looks. I mean, besides the fact that he is extremely attractive, you're gonna hate him by the end of this movie. Like legit, you ain't gonna want to see him in no other movie. Nothing. These are the bad girls I were talking about. And I guess really it was just this one, the one that's up front, Jocasta. Yeah, people like it, Clarence. I'm just hoping that, I'm hoping that it catches on and that people go to see it and enjoy it for what it is because it is a good movie. It's not like trying to be a Halloween Kills kind of horror movie. It is trying to be a smart, cerebral, psychological, I'm going to damage your mind, not your body type of deal. Then here, let me see. Look at this Matt Smith fooling this girl, making her think that she's in good hands. He's a jerk. Now, this is Thomasine McKenzie, and she is, in this point, she's Ellie. Again, we will start to see as these pictures, I'm sure, go on. She begins to intersect with Sandy so much. The Anya Taylor Joy, who is so beautiful, and her freaking eyes are like half of her face She is so gorgeous to me. But yeah, she really played her role. And then you see Ellie is starting to switch. She's the blonde hair. She's wearing the makeup. She's this jacket is very instrumental in the changes that come to her. She starts to change quite a bit. And then here's one of those mirror shots I was talking about with uh, Ellie and Sandy on opposite sides of a mirror. I think he shot this well. Boy, just so fantastically handsome for him to have been so terrible in this movie. He was so mean, so bad. Again, Anya Taylor-Joy, Ellie. Things the bottom started falling out here for Ellie. Um, the bottom really fell out here for Ellie. And this is Dame Diana Rigg, and again, she passed shortly after filming this, but she played her role, baby. When I say she played her role, she played her role. Bad doctor is right, Clarence. You know what? Like I said at the top, he's one of my favorite doctors. David Tennant is my favorite doctor, absolute favorite of the whole lot of them. But a very close second was Matt Smith. And I just look at him. When I see him, I initially automatically see the doctor. And then you realize that he got way more than the doctor in his wheelhouse. He has shown that he can play that character, again, a quirky character like the doctor, who you can appreciate for what it is. He is playing a role that's been played 150 times already, with just a little bit of his own personality added into that. I like that, especially when we're talking about the Doctor Who franchise, because you see so much of the character remain the same, but you have to add just a little bit to make it a different. This doctor is different in this way. But to see Matt Smith go, I saw him on The Crown, and I can't remember who he was playing because I fell off of The Crown. I think he was playing Philip, Prince Philip, and I slightly didn't like him there. In this movie, he is a bigger jerk than Prince Philip. But yes, movie was gorgeous. It was beautiful. Uh, I can't say. Oh, and this black guy, because I said his name at the top. Michael Ajal, I think is how you say his name. He played kind of like I wouldn't call him a love. Should I call him a love interest? He had a crush on Ellie, and he got caught in the crossfire of her breakdown once Sandy and so things started happening to Sandy, and they were far out of control of Ellie. And Ellie is now seeing this guy. His name is John, and is his name John? Yeah, his name is John, and he gets caught in the middle. Oh, but again, so much happened. So much changed basically with Ellie. By the end of the movie, she's a whole different person, entirely different. Um, and I won't say anything more because the more I talk, the more I want to talk, and then I'll say the wrong thing and spoil something. So yeah. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns? And do you like the fact that I tried to be trippy in 60s today? I don't know if it came across as 60s or 70s maybe. But anywho, I I like the movie. I recommend the movie. If you guys don't have anything else, this might be where I leave it today. Tomorrow we got lots to talk about. And hey, Dion, you know what? I hope that you were here for a while because I am about to end today. I hope you heard the entire review for Last Night in Soho. But if you didn't, the rebroadcast is there. You might find this to be something that's in your wheelhouse, something that you might enjoy, because I truly enjoyed this movie. It, like I said, might have been 15 minutes too long, but I can't get everything. Yeah, Dion, we were talking about Last Night in Soho, a film by Edgar Wright, the director of Baby Driver. Oh, I'm gonna let you see I'll let you see the thumbnail, I guess, for his movie. That movie was so good, and I hope that you watch the rebroadcast so you can see if it's something that you could get into, because I enjoyed it. But yeah, it looks like it's a quiet night. I'm about to go in here and finish listening to my Prince, because I was on a Prince tip earlier. And yeah, I'll catch everybody at 3 p.m. tomorrow. If you didn't know, I do a little show called the Weekly Wrap Up, 3 p.m. every Saturday. And there's gonna be some big announcements. If you haven't already seen it, Dion, what is it playing on? The movie theater of your choice. It's only in theaters. Last Night in Soho is only in theaters. But yeah, if you um if you want to join me tomorrow, 3 p.m. Central Time, I'll be here. We're gonna wrap this week up, and we're gonna have a big announcement about the direction of the show. So if you're part of the Facebook group after the Snap Hangout, then you probably know already. If you're on Patreon, I left y'all a long letter telling you exactly the moves that I planned on making. And if you're not on either one of those, get on either one of those, and then come meet me tomorrow so you can hear what the heck I'm talking about. With all that being said, I appreciate everybody for hanging out with me tonight. Go see Last Night in Soho. Talk to you later. See you at the movies. Peace.